What's up, hockey fans? And back by popular demand is Trade or No Trade, Part 1, where I wrote on Twitter, calling all Habs fans, Trade or No Trade is returning for a 4-part series. What is one trade that you would like to see the Habs make this offseason? Comments may get featured in my video where I will give a yes or no answer with an explanation to why I'm giving a yes or no to that trade. And up first we have Jeff Head. He says, trade Mete, Wheel, Wallet, and Lindgren to the Washington Capitals for TJ Oshie. And as you can see on your screen, to this one, I'm definitely going to have to say yes. Although realistically, I feel Montreal would definitely have to add more to that trade to acquire a player of Oshie's talents. If he was on the trade block, I would love to see Montreal trade for him, especially that way, because the only one of those players that has true trade value on the market is Victor Mete. Charlie Lindgren has shown some promise in the AHL, had a couple of good NHL games in 2017, 2018, but overall he doesn't hold a ton of value, and the other two are just depth players. So to get a player like TJ Oshie in return, if you were to throw in a pick with all that, I would totally love to see the Habs do it. Up next, once again from Jeff Head, he says Huberdeau, Vatrano, for Jeff Petrie and Max Domi and a first-round pick. So he wants Jonathan Huberdeau and Frank Vatrano from the Florida Panthers for Jeff Petrie and Max Domi and a first-round pick. As much as I would love to have a star player like Jonathan Huberdeau in Montreal, a guy who can put up 90-plus points, put up 92 points last year, and it's only going to get better, I feel Montreal would be paying far too much. They don't need a depth center in Vatrano, and losing Petrie on the blue line would leave a huge hole on the right side, and they already have huge holes on the left side. Like, when you think about it realistically, their really top left side defenseman right now is Victor Mete. Hopefully it will be Alexander Romanov in the future. Then they have Shea Weber and Jeff Petrie on the right side. So if you were to take Jeff Petrie out of that mix, they got huge holes in their bottom four of the right and left side. So far on the right side, they're pretty solid with Shea Weber and Jeff Petrie and whoever they slot in the third position, because they're not going to get a ton of time anyways. But to take Jeff Petrie out of the mix, even if you are adding Jonathan Huberdeau, that's a huge hole the Habs would have to fill, and I don't like it personally. Up next, from Joe, we have a trade. He says Tatar plus one of our young defensemen or a second-round pick for Jesse Puljujarvi. For me, this one's easy. It's an absolute no-brainer. It's hard. It's a hard no. To give up a 60-point player, a young defenseman, no matter who it is, and a pick for a guy who's basically done nothing significant in the NHL. Yes, he does have a ton of promise. Yes, he does have a ton of potential, but it already hasn't worked out in Edmonton. He is tearing it up in Finland, but I feel that's far too much to pay. Thomas Tatar had 61 points this year for the Montreal Canadiens. He was their leading scorer. He's a big part of that top line. And Tatar alone, in my opinion, is too much for Puljujarvi, especially with everything else going out the other way. Up next, we have two trades from Matt from the Simbin on Twitter. To Matt's first trade, where he says he wants to trade Domi plus a first-round pick for the 5th overall pick. I would have to say yes to that trade personally. I don't think Domi is going to resign in Montreal, and I would love to see Montreal get a top 5 pick in this year's draft, because I feel Jamie Drysdale or Alexander Holtz are going to go around the 5th spot, so that's a huge player to get right there. Would definitely help the Habs in the long run. But to the second part, where he says he'd like to trade Domi and Montreal's pick for Buffalo's 8th pick, I don't like that one personally. I think you can do better than the 8th pick. As long as you can get in the top 5 and you got a chance at a player like Jamie Drysdale or Holtz, or God forbid somebody like Byfield even fall to 5, even though most likely he's not. In my opinion, it's going to go Lafreniere, Stützle, and Byfield, but somebody big could fall to number 5, and the Montreal Canadiens to get that spot would be awesome. But 8th, I feel paying Domi and your first-round pick is far too much for the 8th spot. It's far too much for the Buffalo Sabres pick. But that's just my opinion, because I guarantee you there are a lot of Habs fans out there that would want to do that trade, because there could be a really good player going to the 8th spot as well. This year's draft is really deep. Up next, from Gonzo Gates on Twitter, he says, Max Domi plus a pick for Josh Anderson. We need grit and toughness. And to this one, I'm definitely going to have to say yes. Anderson would offer size, grit, very solid scoring to our top 6, and in the long run would definitely help the Habs. As long as the pick isn't our 16th overall pick, as if it's like a 2nd or 3rd round pick, I feel it's a very solid deal that benefits both teams. I feel Domi would be a very good fit in Columbus. They're a very gritty team. He's played against the Columbus Blue Jackets before. He's definitely familiar with a lot of their players. And Anderson would bring that size, that grit, that scoring to Montreal's top 6. He would definitely help on the power play. Overall, he would definitely help the Habs for sure. Up next, from Al Damone, this one comes from Facebook. He says, go after Puljujarvi from Edmonton. They still want a depth D-man. We have players to trade. Paul Barn and a pick. Then he says, then get either Laine, which is not likely, or Ehlers for Max Domi and Noah Jolson. So, and then he says, sign Taylor Hall. So I answered two of these because it was three different things. So the first one, I'm going to have to say, Al definitely has the right idea. I feel Paul Byron and a pick are very fair value for Jesse Puljujarvi. I love Paul Byron, but he had a terrible year and it has some injury issues. Puljujarvi has a ton of potential. He's tearing it up in Finland, and I feel he would mesh well with the Montreal Canadiens, with other young Finnish players like Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Arturi Lehkonen, and Joel Armia. And the second trade I had to leave out because I felt it was too much for the video, but as far as the Taylor Hall signing part, I'm going to have to say no to signing Taylor Hall. I don't feel the Montreal Canadiens need a player like Taylor Hall. I love Taylor Hall. He does have an excellent game, but almost every team he's on doesn't turn out to be a winner. He's more of an individual player. He had that one really big season, and because of that one really big season, I think he's going to want a lot of money. He's a former Hart winner, and I don't think the Habs can afford to take on another huge contract like that with already Carey Price making $10.5, Shea Weber making $7 million. They're going to have to re-sign Nick Suzuki, Jesperi Kotkaniemi down the road. They already have a bunch of contracts that they have to sign next year. Taking on a huge contract with term like Taylor Hall, especially if it doesn't work out, will hurt the Montreal Canadiens for years to come. So that signing, I'm definitely going to have to say no. And last, but certainly not least, a guy who was a big part of last year's trade or no trade gave me some excellent trades, and I feel this one is excellent. We have a trade from Paul B. He says, Max Domi, Ryan Poehling, plus the 16th pick for Johnny Goudreau. To this one, it's definitely a huge yes. I feel it's a trade that will benefit both teams. Goudreau would fit well with the Calgary Canadiens. Sorry guys, I butchered that. I was reading it off a script. I meant to say the Montreal Canadiens, not the Calgary Canadiens, who are a very good fast-paced team, and I think he would add a big boost to the Habs' top six. He would help their power play. Montreal is a fast team. They're a smaller team, so Goudreau doesn't bring the size, but he brings the scoring. He would be a huge quarterback for the power play. I feel he would be good on the line with somebody like Nick Suzuki. He would be able to feed Nick Suzuki some nice plays on the power play. And Montreal needs whatever boost they can get there. And he would be the first bona fide superstar that the Habs had in ages. Now, some people may not consider Goudreau a superstar, but what he's done in the NHL, what he's shown so far, I would definitely consider him superstar, if not superstar potential, and the best player the Montreal Canadiens would have if they were to bring him on. I feel it's a fair deal. I don't feel Max Domi is going to re-sign. We don't know what Ryan Poehling's future is going to be. Most of it so far has been in the AHL, and he was very poor last season. And the Habs can afford to give away a pick. They have a ton of picks. So to that one, I'm going to have to say yes. They have a ton of picks. Anyways, guys, this is Open Ice Hits with Scotty 2 Hockey. I'm sorry I butchered the end a little bit. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, stay safe wherever you're to, and have a great day, folks. Over and out.